Hey, you guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Sending you lots of love. This morning, I've woken up with a specific sort of vibrashe about doing these sort of daily collective energy updates. And then you guys know I tend to like just share really intuitively, as in when I feel really inspired to do so. But I've gotten myself into this habit of like, this is my thing. This is what I do. I wake up every morning and I go live on YouTube and I just share what's coming from the heart, this sort of spiritual awakening and intuitive journey that I've been on. So these daily live updates are really just about sharing, for me, what comes through, as far as what's happening in our collective energy field. And especially we're living in these really shifty times. I've been getting the image a lot of like a gazelle, sort of like the really light on our feet hopping around, and all of that kind of energy, including the kind of perceived chaos and mounting fear of the external world, is ultimately really sort of triggering and ushering this awakening in the collective energy field. So there's a lot of confusion, and this seems to be a recurring theme for these last few months as the event horizon is really kind of lining itself up for us in these coming years. Probably by 2020, I should think there'll be a radical change in the flow dynamics on the planet as far as how the humans are moving around on the planet. And that has to do with the manifestations that are coming through for this year. And so the increasing chaos and confusion is also what's dumping new vibrational manifestation onto new paradigm pioneers and leaders and stuff like that. Just like there's always that kind of infinity symbol, that's what I'm seeing. It's like see the poverty and then rise up out of it, see the greed and disparity and then kind of shed it, you know. So we're perpetually swinging from one spectrum to the other within our own awareness, to discern and decipher I don't, I don't really do the label thing, but that middle path, again, one of you mentioned something about that. And again, the middle path doesn't look like anything. It's a resonance from within the self. It's a resonance from within the heart field, that we're centered in the heart field enough to know the center. That's really, to me, what knowing the self is. Because if we get lost out there in the world and other people's thoughts and other people's ideas about life, or society's idea about who you're supposed to be in this world, of course it makes perfect sense that your energetic attention is perpetually seeking that thing outside of you, rather than knowing the truth of who you are, and knowing that what you see around you is your chosen dream, is your chosen path, right? And that's the part of this awakening journey and or law of attraction and or the part of manifestation. It's one thing to have a spiritual awakening, it's another thing to start endeavoring the manifested life, or the Christhood of our existence, where we consciously, through the divine connection, manifest a life of our desires. This is what sort of All to Love TV and a lot more, again, new paradigmers are really about, is that it's not about manifesting in it within the system. It's about standing on the ground on this planet as a sovereign being, because the new paradigm is really in recognition of, I said something the other day, a Bob Marley song, emancipation of humanity. This is about us remembering our divinehood, our Christhood, our creatorship, so that we can vibrate that and manifest via that, without the corrupted disruptions of the old paradigm of that matrix system, because it is corrupted. That's how I feel into it. It's like a corrupted motherboard. It's already toast, right? And so the jumping of the ship, and weirdly, it's so funny, because when we're in that 3D matrix paradigm thinking, it's very like everything is so frightening and so traumatic and so terrifying, and let's be honest, low vibrations, fear, separation, it's brutal. It's really brutal. And yet, when we continue to transform our shit, and when we continue to anchor in and hold the fort for love, like for our brothers and sisters, and real compassion, like even like the grossest craziest, most worrisome things we can still be present with. And that's ultimately the leap that we're taking, is how basically how much shit can we be like, yeah, and yeah, and yeah, and because it's like, uh, wars go on for a long time. This conflicted humanity, that some of us that are getting to know the self better and then resonating more in harmony with that self, um we we are all moving into that infinite intelligence, right? And yet it's always just that simplicity of, do we just keep blaming and attacking the external world for the shits that we're in? And it is a monumental task, and it can seem really overwhelming. However, the more in the centered space that we are, it's like y'all just know within the self, in the divinity of the experience of existence and separation, that once you've kind of tapped that divine spark from within the self, you kind of know that you're safe. Even if it's like, like turbulent waters, there's like this little inner sparkle just being like, just keep going. Like, um, and that's the intuition. That's what we know. We're like, oh God. And it is scary. It kind of goes against the grain, but in a sense, we know that the reason we're not happy in amongst all the other grains is that the grains aren't happy either. They just don't know what else to do. And so some of us have these little extra little nudgings for whatever reason, going, you go do that. And that will help the grains who are a little bit lost and confused, because there's a dominant collective agreement that the majority of our human consciousness is a sheep mentality. It's a follower, right? There's not. And so when we have the inspiration to do something, it is our job to do it, because we're not supposed to wait around for like all the sheep that are just like grazing away in the grass in the fields. They're not getting the inspiration. They're not necessarily even getting anxiety. If you're the sheep going, oh God, I think there's greener grass, then you're that sheep that needs to pioneer another field, right? And then the other ones will just go, hey, look, Bobby Joe just went over to that field, we should join him. They're not. Hence why we don't compare, why we don't contrast, why we don't compete. It's futile in new paradigm, because it's not in harmony with sovereignty. Sovereignty means that everyone, and yeah, fun and games is one thing, but sovereignty means that like everyone has their function. And that's another navigation in this journey. It's that it really is our authenticity that is our function in the divine outworking of all this insanity. And that is our most sort of joyful, lovely, accepted essence of self. And yet along the way, we often have to outwork the bits that we've been taught to really shame and deny, and like, you can't do that, you can't do this. Says who? Right? Like, that is, if any of you know of a company called Mind Valley, and they do a lot of this higher consciousness manifestation. They do these things called A Fest. And the director, Vishen, he has this thing called realz, which I just thought right away on like the first day, I'm like, yeah, this is all right. Like, I can hang with these peeps. There'll be some good people. There'll be some good humans here for sure. And there continue to be, almost 4.5 years later, I'm still meeting brethren, like proper resonant people from this A Fest. Anyway, Vishen coined the expression the rules, which is just the bullshit rules of life, which is pretty much everywhere that we've all squeezed ourselves into so that we could follow the rules and be good little slave humans. And then the slave system is starting to be like, ow, 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 it's hurting. And all the slaves are like, oh God, even this is low. And hence shining light more on corruption. And then hence things like yellow vests happening, where people are just like, I think you've done enough of the whole squeezing off the poor. And so it's like the classic revolutionary cycle. Is it the proletariat? Is that right? I don't know. And then the aristocrat, the bourgeoisie. It's like that Karl Marx, I'm hearing. Like, I haven't even studied this stuff, but like, I'm hearing that that's the beginning. We're in the revolution. We're in like the tide's gone way out, the waves coming back in, y'all. We're not going to be able to stop it. people are hungry and people are angry at the fact that they're just like, wow, I've just sold my fucking life for a bunch of people that think it's cool to control and manipulate the masses. And then smart people within the masses are like, whoa, 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 even more angry. And then that's hence pioneering these new paradigm, these new movements that are just like, we don't want one world order. We don't need corrupted control, domination, divide and conquer tactics on this earth plane whatsoever. And this is ultimately what the collective awakening really is. The collective awakening is the freedom of a species that has lived under the rule of a dominant, controlling, and oppressive class. And then the masses, which are the dominant, the actual true dominant frequency of this planet, in alignment with the blueprint of the earth herself. That's the idea of what the biblical term says: the meek shall inherit the earth. The ones that are holy and divine, in truth and resonance with this earth's biosphere, they're the ones who are truly deserving of this planet, this worth, the resources, and to live in harmony on this paradise, right? So the other forces can fuck off, and then we can live this or leave this earth just in her natural kind of biosphere in connection to the rest of the solar system. And the darker kind of corrupted forces can go to other planets that res with them, because that's where they go. And then we could go, yeah, back into the cosmos from whence we came. This is kind of like the fun storytelling part of this channel. Anywho, you guys, 11:33, that's my sign to go. Whenever, oh, by the way, 5:44, 11:33, 3 viewers. I'm like, gee whiz. The numbers are at me constantly. 1, 2, 2, just repeats everywhere I go. So anywho, you guys, I love you very much. I hope that was useful to you. Again, I am in my heart feeling that I'm going to be doing these live intuitive collective energy updates almost every day where possible. And then as and when I'm inspired, and or when I get feedback and commenting from you guys about topics, things that you want to share, I'm super honest. So if I'm not necessarily in resonance with a topic, I won't share it. If I don't know, I just won't know. And then but otherwise, a lot of the juicy sharing happens when you guys ask about a certain topic, like ascension symptoms, or one of you guys once asked about hollow earth and stuff like that. So there's a real open playing field here for like what our minds and hearts want to explore. I just, to understand, this is like the flow, and I'll come on probably between this time, so like 5 and 6 most mornings, which is UK time. And I'll always kind of give you a heads up if I'm traveling around and if those time zones change. But I'm in utter humility and love and appreciation for you guys. These last few weeks, as I finished Alta Love's second online course, I've just been like, whoa, more big changes, right? And there's an expectancy and a welcome around these changes. And there's also something that I'm certainly experiencing in my energy field. And what I'm feedbacking off of for a lot of like this community is just soul exhaustion. It's like you're at the end of a cycle or the end of a long race, and you're just kaput. There's no more. I have nothing left to give. And that's ultimately what surrender is, isn't it? Like surrender is just this like inner moment of like pure and utter brokenness of like there's nothing left. There's nothing left for me. There's nothing left for nobody. And then look, another day comes and you're like, oh, okay. Yep, still alive. Okay, I guess I'll just keep going then. Hence the kind of spiritual awakening. The best advice for anything, whether it's spiritual or just living your life, it's like just keep going, just keep breathing. And then if you want to crack that nut a little bit better, so you can get more of the meat from the nut, then that will likely require more reflection, journaling, meditation, a little bit deeper practices and tools that help us penetrate that shell so that we can start to outwork some of the deeper entanglements from within the self that can block our path to bliss and our path to joyful fulfillment in a grounded sovereignty, which is the flip. Even though it might look the same, there's a flipping, a regenesis process that's happening from within. And then that's also this inner regenesis is what's creating the new world that we're all like wanting to frolic about in. You guys have an awesome day. I appreciate you. I'm glad that you're here this morning. I'm feeling inspired on this. Oh, it's Sunday today. Also, like, wow, no ideas. Day, time. Whoa, timelessness. But it's kind of cool. I weirdly am like digging it, where even though it triggers these little fears of like this way of life from my like 16-year-old mindset, I would have been in like, I would have been dead out of pure panic. I'm like, who are you? But like, I'm like, no, 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 you always knew I was like this. Oh, what a weirdo. But I love you and I love all the weirdos and I love all the even I love just everyone. I'm like, because everyone, we're all teaching each other, and that's pretty much just what Ultra Love is about. I'm like, well, I don't have any answers other than I'm pretty sure if I just keep loving, then somehow everything's going to work out. So I love you guys, and I'm wishing you a glorious day, a glorious evening, a glorious afternoon, wherever you are in this world. I hope that the sun shines down upon you and that you found a rainbow and that you found some treasures at the end of the rainbow and that you come back to Ultra Love TV every day for my viewing pleasure. You guys, I love you loads. Have an awesome day. Peace out.